So CitizenCon 2953 happened over the weekend, and wow, what a great show it was this year. I was not there in person because I live in a different country and I'm poor, but watching it with a bunch of folks on our Discord server was just as electric. There were so many up and coming features to be excited about and actual tangible demonstrations of Pyro. My experience of the past two CitizenCons was the promise that Pyro is coming just around the corner, but this time there were live gameplay demos of Pyro happening in the expo hall. Several members of our org got a chance to play, and I really do feel that it is just around the corner now. On day one, we saw the upcoming fire system and some of the gameplay associated with it, using the fire extinguisher to fight fires on board ships. When you think about this coupled with the engineering gameplay that they demonstrated as well, the components that are able to be repaired or tuned in real time during combat, I can see engineering teams of bigger ships being very busy and necessary for gameplay in the future.
It means that the quantum drive cannot be accessed from the pilot seat. That means that, I also had to get that repaired.
There was a part of me at first that thought about how the complexity of these systems would serve to make the gap between multi-cruise ship performance and the light fighter meta even greater, but then something was said during the live flight demo that kind of hinted that larger ships might be immune to fatal damage from light fighters in future.
We cannot take down this hammerhead. It's too big for us. But we can cripple it. The weak points on the hammerhead are the turrets.
The exact details are obviously yet to be revealed, but this is a very exciting and promising notion for multi-cruise ship players. The demonstrations of the new stations within the Pyro system and how they work was also incredible. The atmosphere and detail in these locations I was not expecting so much, I must admit. The fact that they do not have armistice zones means that combat could potentially occur even inside the social areas of the station.
Combat can take place anywhere, including social areas.
Having to keep your guard up while exploring a station, I imagine, will lead to some very tense moments. Not to mention the chaos when a gunfight suddenly erupts. The stations are gang controlled, and it was revealed that reputation with specific gangs will be a factor in what you can access.
Reputation gives you access to new areas, unique gear, and mission givers. It also relates to basic functions such as the HAB clinics, which need at least a neutral standing with their owners. So how does the reputation gate in the entry deck affect gameplay? So if you had good reputation, you could go straight through. This is no fuss, and it's the quickest way to maneuver through the station. If you have bad reputation, in short, you're going to have a tough time, but you have options. So stealth via other pathways might be one of those options.
I like that this will give a direct and ongoing reason to engage with missions and guide your behaviour and direction in this lawless system. You may not have the UEE to punish you for crimes out there, but keeping on good terms with gangs, I imagine, will be a balancing act between different interests. They show that if you do not have access to the private areas of a station, you can still get in by sneaking through the ventilation system. Again, the level of detail in these environments is just incredible. Really looking forward to being able to go and play there in the coming year.
Most modules are interconnected with vents and maintenance shafts. These reward the players with infiltration and exploration paths, as well as potential loot.
Obviously, my main interest in all of this was the changes to the FPS gameplay. I am mostly an on-foot player, and some of my wishlist items were addressed during the demos in this CitizenCon. First, obviously, a compass on foot. My number one wish was shown, and that addition will help so much with on-foot gameplay. But not just a compass, the new mapping functionality of both the minimap and star map was also a game changer.
Our next objective is to go to the map kiosk and download a terminal. Let's go ahead and activate it. What you see on screen, zoom out a bit, what you see on screen is a fully live 3D representation of the environment that we are in. It's much more interesting if we can actually take this on the go. So let's download it to our databank. As you'll notice, we now have the representation of the environment in the upper left corner of our visor.
Having a map and compass means you can effectively navigate over land, pull out important sites to teammates with precise bearings, and from what we were shown in the demo at least, you can even leave markers to locations. We've done a fair bit of what you would call exploration in Star Citizen, circumnavigating 2 planets on dragonflies. That's a collective distance of 14,000 kilometers more or less in total, and along those journeys, the amount of times that we encountered something interesting or cool that it would have been great to mark and return to later, but just had no chance of finding it again. Well, in the future this wouldn't be a problem anymore. They talked about increasing the time to kill while on foot, and I think this is a really good idea. At the moment, a lot of the FPS combat comes down to who shoots first, or the fights incur entirely within the space of time that desync is a problem.
PvP. We want to increase the time to kill. This allows for more varied weapon balancing. You know, we can lay into like sort of different aspects of the element more. It leads to higher skill ceiling and less unfair deaths. It will no longer be a game of whoever shoots whoever first.
Increasing the time to kill would not only help with these problems, but also add more technique and tactics to gunfights. The FPS scanner looked like it will be a great addition too, but there were many with me in the watch party during the event that noted it will have widespread implications for PvP.
This highlights whatever's in our line of sight. There's also some risk and reward to the scanning system. By holding the button, we can charge our scanner, and this reveals enemies through walls using a more powerful wave. But it does cause a spike in our emissions, which makes us easier to detect. Okay, let's do a charge scan, please, Bone. Okay. We can also see the augmented reality box outs, which give us a summary of what we've detected.
I'm not opposed to it myself. If both sides of a fight have the same ability to ping for threats, then there is a balance there. I do think that maybe adding some kind of stealth armor that offers very little protection but is more shielded from the effects of a sensor ping would be an interesting addition. There was some talk about improving armor and making the different classes of armor more pronounced. There were also demonstrations of reloading from your backpack, which was great. Running out of mags attached to your armor is always a bit of a fumble moment, having to hold up and open inventory and so on. Pulling mags from a backpack, albeit slower than from your armor, is a nice addition.
So, backpack reloading. In real life combat scenarios, you often grab magazines from other surplus areas. I want to simulate that in our game. So, to show you this, we have something called backpack reloading. If you run out of ammo in Star Citizen, you have to open a menu, put things on. It's a little bit clunky, it's a little bit awkward. So, if you have magazines in your backpack, you will now be able to grab them at the price of a longer reload animation. You will also be able to tell when you have a backpack reload coming up because it will be displayed on the inventory with the backpack symbol. So there's no surprises, no catching up, you have all the information you need.
Oh, and the Vault weapon, I want one. The way it forms a beam, it has several uses, not just as a weapon, but potentially a way of marking targets for bombers perhaps. Even as a weapon, it just looked really cool, and I can't wait to try it out.
They will enact differently. So some weapons will just basically be beams from the get-go. Some will go into beams. Like you see, this one goes into a beam once it reaches a certain level of heat. And it's really fun because, you know, these are quite powerful weapons, and you basically want to manage the heat and, you know, keep it in that like ideal spot. Okay, cool.
I have yet to test master modes in Arena Commander, but the demo of how it worked looked really interesting. Again, I hope that the speed differences help with creating some balance between large multi-crew ships and light fighters.
So now the biggie in the room. We're talking master modes.
Master modes is by far the biggest change we're doing on the ship gameplay. Yeah, so this is your current master mode. It says SCM. When you use SCM for basically all the gameplay that is not traversal. So combat, mining, salvaging, using it for that. You have full access to your combat system. However, we will heavily restrict how fast we can go. We can go with your ship. Okay, Brent, go to full max speed. So this Gladius on max speed and SCM can reach about 225 meters per second. So we're now going to put our ship into the second mode, which is navigation. So navigation mode is basically the opposite of SCM. What this does, it gives you a high speed, low performance mode. Your shields, they will collapse. Your weapons will not be able to fire. So this means when you want to go fast, you need to be very, very careful.
The new mechanics for making quantum jumps was also very interesting. Under the new system, there is some manual effort required to keep the ship within the quantum tunnel, or whatever your preferred description of it would be, adding an element of skill to making a jump, but also making the quantum drive quality and condition even more important.
Brent will start the quantum travel in a second. What will happen then is, during the acceleration process, the ship will experience forces, and you as a player, you're responsible to counter these forces. So there is an element of failure. And take your hands off. So what you just saw is basically the failed attempt to quantum travel.
We saw that with a traditional jump, after a little while, the ship kind of calibrated into the jump, and you no longer needed to keep manual control.
Is locked. You can now go hands off.
But for the shorter range omnidirectional quantum boosting feature, which is a feature I so wish we had right now already, you must maintain control of the ship throughout the entire jump.
Next point of interest is like 1,200 kilometers away. We're not going to force you anymore to travel that by hand. You will use a technique called quantum boosting. It's a quantum-based short-range jump for like something between a couple of hundred kilometers to like 30,000 kilometers or so. When you use quantum boosting, the process is practically the same, but the quantum bubble will not stabilize itself, so you need to be hands-on for the whole time, and the speeds are naturally, well, slower, but it's not slow, it's still quantum traveling, right? Quantum boosting works in every direction. You don't need nav points. So now, please boost to reinforcements needed. So if there's nav point and you boost, your quantum travel system will pick that nav point to go to. Welcome to Pyro 3.
Very exciting to see this demonstration during the show. And of course, base building. An addition I feel will change everything. I mentioned in the Caterpillar video recently that having something to spend credits on after you've bought up all the ships you want and outfitted them is very much missing from the current game. After a certain point, credits just become meaningless. Base building and the upkeep involved is definitely a solution to that problem, but it isn't just a credit sink. The demo showed us that the bases can serve actual functions like mining resources or fabricating items, which is the first step to player-controlled industry.
So with that, you need to figure out what your goal is. Is it to have a home with a nice view and relax? Is it to have a trading post where you want to create and sell items? Is it to gather resources available and move on to the next area? Or is it to be off-grid and be completely self-sufficient? They don't come with any furnishings, and if you didn't bring any with you, then you want to build a fabricator. So depending on what you want to build, there's different sizes of them that support buildings from decorations, armor, weapons, components, and even ships.
Thinking about all of the gameplay that will come from this in the context of Star Citizen, attacking and defending bases, player-driven markets of specialized weapons or equipment, this whole segment was completely unexpected for me, and I am very excited.
So, as you may have guessed, and Brian Chambers may have let slip a bit earlier, we are feature complete on Squadron 42.
Squadron 42 is feature complete, and as someone that was not super excited about getting a single player game, really only here for the Star Citizen side of things, after seeing the trailer and the feature showing snippets of the game, I am now very excited to play Squadron 42. It was mind-blowing. Star Citizen has some great looking locations, and in fact, the Squadron 42 demo was shockingly beautiful compared to even what we see in Star Citizen. The game is in the final polishing phase, and now I have completely turned around on this one. I cannot wait to play this game.
We fight today. So in 40 years from now, when you're surrounded by everything and everyone you hold dear, and they ask, what did you do in the Battle of Vega? You can look them in the eye and say, I held the line. Men and women of the Second Fleet, I am proud to stand with you today. Good luck. Push about.
Nice speech.
Any word from the recon team?
Not yet.
Well, let's get into position.
And the final thing I'll talk about today is the promise of ships coming in the next 12 months. There were some new ships revealed, like the RSI Zeus, which redesigned, it looks absolutely incredible. I really love the shape and interior layout of these ships. I was disappointed when it was revealed they were not straight to flyable, but I will certainly enjoy looking at them when they reach us.
Of the three variants, the Zeus Essential is the one that harkens back the most to the original design, with the original white on black paint job and the vertical stabilizers. We also worked to maintain the silhouette of the original, but brought that forward to modern day RSI design with tons of technical detail and layered panels, leaving behind a super smooth underbelly, just like the original design.
So, we've talked about the past, we've talked about the present, let's talk about the future. All the light blue ones are all the ones we have released to date. All those grey ones are the ones that we have not done yet. The dark blue ones are the ones that will be in your hands by the end of the year.
Two of my most anticipated ships were in a batch of promised as coming within the next 12 months. The Legionnaire, which looks like if the Pelican dropship from Halo and the Chieftain from Elite Dangerous had a baby, is a ship I fell in love with as soon as I saw it. I really hope that its level of protection is closer to the Terrapin than to the Valkyrie, and if so, I can see myself getting a lot of use out of it. But also, my most anticipated ship in the current lineup, the Polaris, an actual capital ship and capital ship hunter.
I don't know if you noticed, but there was quite a big ship at the end of that video. Yeah. And yeah, just to confirm, that is the Polaris.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to actually stepping on board for the first time and taking it out with a crew on board. Now, I have not covered everything here because there was just so much to cover, so definitely go check out the videos from the day yourself if you've not seen them already. This is going to be a really exciting year for Star Citizen and Squadron 42. There is so much to come, and I can't wait to head out on all new adventures. And of course, I want to thank all of our amazing patrons who you can see on screen right now. These very generous people are what allow us to put out videos several times a week, and I want to thank each and every one of them. But in this video, I especially want to thank Mio Fuji, who recently became a supporter of the channel over on Patreon. Thank you very much, Mio, for the support, and also for being the channel's first annual supporter. That was incredibly generous of you. Thank you. We'll be back with more from Star Citizen very soon.